I'm here with Jerf van Beek, who is a Hawke's Bay Regional Councillor and a Twyford grower as well. Kia ora, Jerf, and thanks for joining me.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. Now, Jerf, there's a meeting coming up in Twyford on Monday. Can you tell us a bit about it? What are the details of it, and when is it being and where is it being held?
Yeah, so that's at 7 o'clock at the Twyford Hall. Twyford's not a big place. It's right next to the school. And Twyford Hall has always been a place where great things happen. We've been the start of protesting against not being able to get apples into Australia, our global consent when we couldn't irrigate. There's a whole lot of political stuff that always has happened at the Twyford Hall, and generally we get really good turnout and some really good discussions, which I like. So this meeting is particularly around the long-term plan of the Hawke's Bay Regional Council that we're now actually asking the community to submit on and give their views. So we've actually have invited anyone who wants to attend and has a view on it, wants to listen, what it really means. And the real reason is because the rate increase that we see, we feel is a real issue for our ratepayers, not just farmers, not just orchardists, it's everyone in town as well. So that's what the meeting mainly is going to be about.
And who's organising the meeting, Jerf?
So Hawke's Bay Fruit Growers Association, Twyford Irrigators have invited Hawke's Bay Fruit Growers Association to actually hold this meeting in here in Twyford. Mainly because we've actually got the centre of where we generally talk about these kind of things. And they have seen that actually this is really important. Now we are really looking in the detail of the long-term plan. We're discussing this with one another. We're hearing what effects it has on different sectors within our region. So we have Havelock North, Hastings, but we also got Camberley, Flaxmere. We've got horticulture. And we've been particularly hit hard with the cyclone, but we've also got farming, we've got Wairua. So it's not just a one fits all. And so we really feel that we need to come together, hear questions asked and answers given if the answers are available. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council generally has worked on drop-in centres. I've always been against drop-in centres. People these days are no longer really to turn up and speak up. That's just a thing of, I don't know why that is, but that's the way it is. So I believe like a woolshed meeting or a town hall meeting is far more important. People can come, people can listen. They don't have to speak up. They can be anonymous, but they can form ideas of what is right, what is wrong. And if they're not quite sure, you can ask a neighbour. You wouldn't rock up to a council like myself, 6'5", and it's a bit daunting and possibly thinks that he knows all the answers. But in these kind of settings, we actually can hear what everybody's thinking. We're not actually pulled apart, we're actually brought together. And I think that's really important.
Because the issue at hand, Jerf, is that the council recently decided to put out for public consultation a change in how rates, what the rate base looks like, or the rating system looks like, and that was moving from a land base to a capital base. You were one of a handful of councils, I think 3 or 4, that actually voted against it, that weren't in favour of going this way. Why was that so? Why did you feel so strongly about it?
Okay, I feel very strong about it still. We as a council, made the decision to move, and it's that's politics. We are in the minority, but I still have very strong views on it. So we, as the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, we actually operate in the open spaces of Hawke's Bay. We're not donkey deep into Hastings. Or Napier or Havelock North or Wairua. Wairua is an area, but not Wairua as a town. And so we actually have moved the rate burden from those who actually are the beneficiaries or the benefactors, the exacerbators, so beneficiaries and exacerbators. They are the people I feel who should pay the rates. That's how it works. You could almost say in the modern language, user pay system. Whereas we've actually, our council has now made the change to those who can afford to pay. And so they're saying if you've got high capital value in your property, obviously you can afford to pay. And therefore we put the rates burden onto you. So from a user pay, we've actually gone to a political model, which is you can pay, so therefore you should pay the rates. Those who can't pay, we actually leave them alone. As a matter of fact, those who've got very low capital value and high land value, they actually get some considerable reductions in their rates. And in this day and age of cost rising, how is that possible? And I don't begrudge that farmers who generally don't have high capital cost, they actually don't have to pay as much. They're doing it really tough right now. But it's the concept about it which I believe is really wrong. Beneficiaries and exacerbators should be the ones who pay the rates. That's how I see it. And most of our work is done in the open space.
So who is going to be affected? Who are the people that are going to be affected by this?
People with high capital value are going to be affected by this. So that is mainly people in town, people who have got small properties like ourselves. We've got a small property, but we actually put an enormous amount of investment in planting trees, putting structures up, putting rain covers up, putting frost protection in, irrigation in, to actually make the same amount of money, if not less, than for instance a 700 hectare farm. But we're now getting penalised for actually having made that investment, which we had to work very hard for. And on a farm, you don't use capital to do that. You use grass. Grass and fences and stock is what your income is. So you actually can't, but those are the exacerbators to what's happening in our environment. And one more point, the very poor, and that's not a very nice term, but the people who own houses in the lowest socioeconomic areas where land value is actually very small, put a house on there and straight away that's a capital value that way outweighs your land value. But they are also getting rates increases. So that was never the intent. The intent was always to make sure that those who had high capital value, Hastings, Havelock North, Napier Hill, the Orchardist, pack houses, maybe some old people's homes who've got high capital value, they should pay the rates. But unfortunately, what has happened, if you really look at land value, Flaxmere, Camberley, other areas in Napier, which I'm not so familiar with being from Hastings, Twyford, that they actually have a low land value, but high capital value, and they're actually going to get an increase, which I believe is totally wrong.
Yeah. So why did your fellow councillors, the majority of them, vote for moving forward and publicly consulting on this?
So land value versus capital value, we did put it out for a consultation. We had 547 submitters, which is a very high number
yes.
and under normal circumstances. 90% of them said, no, we don't want you to change it. We think it's fair. But unfortunately, our council made the decision that, no, we know better. And we have got all the information here in front of us. We will go ahead with it. And so I had to publicly apologise for the behaviour of our council not to listen to the 90% of submitters who went out their way to give their view. And so this meeting on Monday is very much so that we will actually get our ratepayers to submit, whether they're in favour for rate increases or we have different views on how we ought to rate. That's beside the point. We just want to hear from our ratepayers, and our councillors have made the promise that this time, famous last words, this time they will listen to the ratepayer.
So, so you're inviting anyone who wants to come to this meeting. Just give us the times again, where it is and when it is.
Yeah, so it's 7 o'clock. I think the standing room only. It's not a small hall, but it's not a big one either. And we've publicised it quite a bit. 7 o'clock in the Twyford Hall, which is on the corner of Twyford Road and Thompson Road. The hall is right next to the school. It's a lovely place that we pride ourselves in and continue to improve, to make a hub for our community. And it's going to be a great meeting. It always is when you hear bright minds and able people that speak. That's not me. That actually can explain what's the right way forward and how we can actually do that as a community, as we have done on many other issues.
So that's 7 p.m. on Monday, this next Monday, coming Monday, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jerf van Beek, thank you so much for your time and good luck with your meeting. And we'll be touching base with you on this issue in the next few weeks and months, I'm sure.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for the time. See you, Andrew.
Thank you.